car is running or not running when your deputy leaves the vehicle? Because it seems like the car was running and she had access to drive away in it.
I have a feeling y'all gonna push my buttons. That means shit. Okay? That doesn't play a factor into anything. This moron stole a police vehicle and killed 2 human beings. What my policies are, what the procedures are, mean nothing. We did nothing wrong. My deputy did nothing wrong. Listen, you did it. You've pushed me. Our society today wants to blame everything else but where the blame should be. Not a policy, not a deputy. The blame goes to this individual. You want to know why? Let me open it up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is her criminal history. This is it. Criminal history. Zach?
Welcome back, my PBM family. Welcome back. Another episode of Old School Cops. It's your host, Joe, and it's my partner, co-host, Shane. For those of you who don't know us, we've been on the job for many, many years. We've been doing this job for a long time, right? And, people are like, oh, well, you don't got to tell what your background is. We believe you because people say we bragging, because we did a little bit more than just the average beat cop when it comes down to police work. We from the community that has all these issues with it, and we also joined the police department, and we're from that community. So we bring a balance and of understanding that a lot of officers don't bring. We have an understanding that a lot of officers don't have. So you get a different kind of viewpoint when it comes down to us, and we just wasn't beat cops. We specialized units. My boy Shane was a sergeant. He was the commander of the SWAT team. He was a part of the Red Dog unit out in Atlanta. If any of you guys watched the show BMF, when they came out to Atlanta, they had to deal with the Red Dogs when it comes down to try to eluding police. The Red Dogs was a special task force that really went after guys like drug dealers, murderers, and people who traffic guns. So, you got a wealth of experience. I'm quite sure you guys already know me. I went in patrol. I came out of patrol, went to a street enforcement unit. From there, I went to undercover school, did undercover work. I went on a federal task force. I was one of only a few selected to go to Afghanistan and build a police program. So you talk about guys with wealth of experience, wealth of knowledge. We're just not your average beat cop. So we feel and we know we have a right to give our assessment, our views, because we're trying to educate the community. We're trying to give you guys enough information about how to maneuver and survive an encounter when it comes down to having contact with an excessive aggressive police officer. Because if you know a little bit of tools about how to avoid certain things with your approach, that is a difference between you making it home to your family. Because it's all about you making it home. We have these conversations not to just bash cops. We're not cop bashers. We from the cop community. You understand what I'm saying? Our target is bad cops. There's a lot of good cops out there. They do a good job, and we give them props for doing a good job. The media doesn't show it, so we like to tell, and we're going to start showing a little bit more of good policing as well. A lot of my videos is based on what you guys send me. You guys send me and say, Joe, here, give me assessment on this, give me assessment on that. And a lot of it is police excessive force, and a lot of it is not. Some of it is not. So, we want to share our information, share our experience, and educate you guys so you have more education on how to survive an encounter. And if you got to fight an excessive aggressive police officer, not on the side of the road. Please, not on the side of the road. Take your fight to the courtroom, because on that side of the road, the cop always wins. You have no wins on the side of the road. No wins. It's like home court advantage, and I don't even understand the tie goes to the runner. Like, you heard that saying, like, in sports, they got the 6-man, they got home court advantage. The cops have home court advantage on the side of the road all the time. The wins that you've ever seen, whether the officer got suspended, got fired, charged, it's always in the courtroom. It's always after that side of the road. So understand, your fight is beyond the side of the road. Give the officer that one. Say, all right, you got this one. All right, get your attorney. And if you don't have one, let me know. I know a lot of attorneys in multiple states. And take your fight to the courtroom. Shane, we saw the video. And
yes.
what we try to do is we try to give a little bit of background about the video. We try to educate us, especially when you got a little bit of information in what a lot of these clips. Somebody sent us this clip, really good clip. We have a lot to say about this clip. But Shane, break out what you find for the background of what actually happened.
Sure. Basically, what happened was that there was a call to a department store of a potential robbery. So a patrol officer pulled up. The woman approached the vehicle. The patrol officer rolled out his vehicle and said, "Hey, let me step out. Let's talk behind the vehicle." So the officer proceeds to step out the vehicle. They started talking behind the vehicle, and all of a sudden, the lady ran around the vehicle and jumped into the sheriff's car and drove off. At that point, you're at a discretion to either chase that person, or you got the vehicle information. You know it's one of your police vehicles. You kind of can take it from there. Looking at what the sheriff had said, he said something very, very specific that didn't make any sense. He said, "Forget all policies, forget all procedures. This woman did da 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 da." As a police officer, as a sheriff, you cannot vilify the suspect. And then he went on to try to frame her, so to speak. He put out a long rap sheet. If you remember, guys, if you remember, Joe, until we run the person's information, we don't know anything about that person. That person is innocent until proven guilty. I've never heard of a policy where all of a sudden there's a chase, and then once the person is apprehended or once the person dies, then all of a sudden we're going to pull out the whole rap sheet of what they did wrong. That's not proper policing at all. There's so many ways that this could be tackled. Now, as I do further research on the alleged suspect, there were some things in her past that she did, but that has nothing to do with what she do at hand. See, that's the difference. We can't use a person's history to now all of a sudden be judge, jury, and executioner on this person. We have to handle them with respect and with care. So what we know is there was potential robbery in that department store. Person talked to the sheriff up there. Person jumped in the car and took off. At that time, for me, if I'm on the street, I'm going to radio in, "Hey, I was talking to the person. They jumped in the car. They took off." Now it's our time to set a perimeter. You can set a perimeter 8-9 blocks before. You can get the helicopter to go in and look at the suspect, so we can make sure we not only protect the lives of the suspect, but also the lives of other people. We can't rush to judgment and start what's the word here? Start vilifying the suspect without having all the information. And it seems like the sheriff was a little perturbed. Why are you asking this question? Why? The journalists did excellent investigation work. Was this warranted? Was it necessary? And not at all times it's not. A lot of times, Joe, here in Georgia, in College Park, we had a chase. We used to do a chase at a certain point. Then we would get Georgia State Patrol, GSP involved, what have you. Sometimes we have to call into our department. "Hey, you want us to proceed with this chase?" "No, Shane, in the chase, we're going to let it go. We're going to pull a warrant on this person and come get him." There are so many ways that we can handle this, Joe. And in my opinion, it wasn't handled correctly.
I appreciate that, and I agree. I just want to add on to that, right? The whole character assassination is a tool, right? Is a deflection tool that came from Giuliani. Giuliani started this, and it was just amazing how this tactic worked for many, many years, and it still works to this day. It's just not as impactful as it once was, because I think people are starting to understand the game behind it. What he would do, right, is when the officer was involved in an incident and you've seen it was obvious mistakes, he would automatically go and pull the criminal record of an individual and just blast it out into the media, to the public real quick, so you can forget about the officer's mistakes, his negligence of whatever he did wrong that contributed to this incident. Now you got everybody saying, "Oh man, look at that. He has a record a mile long. He's a trouble person. It's their fault." No, people, it's not their fault. There's no expectation for a criminal to be a criminal. The person's a criminal. They are committing crimes, right? They shouldn't be. That's why we have law enforcement. That's why we have people to join law enforcement. It's for to protect the community from criminals, people who violate, people who hurt, people who rape, people who steal. We don't supposed to just be taking anybody and just throwing them in that job and saying, go out and just police. No, you have months. My academy was 8 months, right? And then you have in-service academy. Then you have roll call training. And then it's a continuing training. And don't go to a specialized unit. Then you got more training. So for this sheriff to tell the reporter, right, I knew you was going to do that. I don't care about policy. You have to care about policy. Policy saves lives. Policy don't only save the officer lives. Policy saves citizens' lives. They implement these rules, these training, these procedures, so you can effectively take somebody into custody the correct way without injury. Now, do people get injured? Yes. Sometimes you got to use force? Yes. Right? Sometimes you got to use deadly force. But if we just threw away the policy, right, and just say, look at this person, that would give officers free reign to do whatever they want to do without any accountability or any standard of doing the job correctly. So I totally think that the sheriff is an idiot. And that's why I said he's an idiot. Take accountability for your deputy for messing up. Now, I had this video, right? And I sent it to I normally send videos out to several people, and I get a back and forth about just different opinions from people within the job. The first thing my brother said, right? He said, you mean to tell me out of all the pursuits, because I got into a lot of pursuits when I was in patrol. Stolen cars was my pet peeve, right? I used to, it was a adrenaline rush. You're going 100, 110 miles an hour on the highway. It was just my thing, right? So a lot of times with these stolen vehicles, you have people bail out. And I would bail out and I chase. I was probably the fastest guy in my unit. And my success rate with apprehensions was really high, right? So it was more of an excitement. It was more of a adrenaline rush. He said, so you mean to tell me every time you bailed out a car, right, you locked your door? And I was like, no, I didn't.
No.
I said, but I knew the consequences, right? If something was stolen and my car was taken away, I knew, right, that I was going to be in major trouble, right? So what I started doing was I started taking another key and clamping it onto my old timer. He pulled me. He says, "You're getting a lot of stolen vehicles. You're jumping out. The last thing you want to do is come back to your vehicle where your vehicle was and it's gone." He said, "Take the spare key and clamp it onto your gun belt. And then when you're bailing out, just hit the lock. It's automatic. Bang, practice. I hit the lock automatic. Just hit the lock." And so I started doing that. So my vehicle is secure at the time. And if somebody would have stole it, somebody would have stole equipment, I would have just had to eat that. That would have been the consequences that I was willing to take because I thought chasing this person was a lot more important than me securing my vehicle. And if I was wrong. Policy says I need to secure my vehicle. I need to lock my doors. Thank God I never had that issue happen to where somebody stole something out or somebody took my vehicle. We played pranks on each other where somebody would roll up, another officer get and take your vehicle and go around the block, and you come back like, yo, somebody took my vehicle, and then you get on the radio like, no, we was just joking. No, we've done things like that, right? But nothing crazy have ever happened as a result. But if it did, there was nothing I could have done to say that wasn't my fault. I couldn't blame the person who stole the car that I was chasing. I'm the officer. I have the training. I have to perform and live to a higher standard than everybody else. We have to. That's just how it works.
You made a good point there, Joe. I wish I had that old timers experience. I can't tell you how many times I jumped out the car and left my car door open, running, and me flying out. I mean, when I was a rookie, I made a lot of mistakes, and as a mature person on this, I jump out the car, man, and I'm going. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't lock my vehicle. Oh my God. I'm praying and hoping the car is still there. And thank God, all these times, the car was still there. I could have been in massive trouble. My brain was either helping my fellow officer, just reacting quickly. I'm seeing what's going on. I'm going. But that old timer was smart. Keep that extra key, hit that lock button, and then jet. That was good.
Yeah, he did. He did it. I mean, that's what I say. Like, I'm keeping it 100. Nobody's perfect. We're all human beings. But if you make that type of decision, live with it. Don't throw it back on a criminal who's a criminal.
Right.
Oh, look at
Right.
it's not nobody's fault. Well, no, if your officer was following policy, that person would have not been allowed to jump in the vehicle, get into an accident, and mow people. He don't want to hear that. You know why? Because the citizens of that community is going to have to pay that huge bill once the lawsuit comes out about why, because an attorney for the family, the first thing they're going to ask, how did this criminal get a police unit? How did this criminal get a police unit? Like, are you kidding me? And then they're gonna have to go, oh well, it's not his fault or her fault. The deputy. Look at the criminal. No. What does your policy say? That's the first thing a good attorney was gonna ask. What's your policy? The officer was negligent in not securing the vehicle, which led the suspect to take the unit, drive, slam into people, and kill 2 people. So right. This sheriff, right, is a piece of crap. He needs to understand accountability. If he gives a pass for this, he can give a pass to any incident under that same umbrella and saying, look at the criminal. Don't worry about my officer being a piece of shit, right? Not doing what they're supposed to do. Look at the criminal. Look at the criminal. No, these guys, chiefs, sheriffs, police administration, they want the public to hold office. They want the public, right, to look at office as a high profession, right? It's one of the best jobs in the world. We want to be respected. We want the community to look at us as they look at doctors and attorneys. But you want to put out a product that's crappy, that don't even follow policy procedures. Listen. They didn't lock the door. Whatever their policy says on the penalty of that, then yes, that they need to be dealt with. It was their fault. Yes, it was their fault.
Interesting too, Joe, is that they mentioned that the lady crawled into the open window into the driver's seat. But when you look at the police vehicle, the window's rolled up. So there's some misinformation here. Okay. Now you're saying she crawled into the vehicle. So you're going to tell me she had enough time to get that big, a woman, 135, 145 pounds, jumped up and eased into the vehicle, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. It was impossible. No. Just don't add up, man. It don't make sense.
What are you doing in the meantime? You standing there watching?
Correct.
Get out of here. Yeah, that doesn't even make sense. Sounds like somebody's lying.
Exactly.
Sounds like somebody's lying. The sheriff, he needs to take the book. He needs to eat that one. He needs to eat that one. He could have easily came out and said, the deputy was conducting an investigation, jumped out the car, mistakenly left the door open. Suspect somehow got in and drove away. We're going to be, updating some policy and training for the deputy. The deputy has a history of not having violations, following procedures. Is normal. I mean, you could have done that to give no accountability, and then he gets mad at the journalist for asking a very good question.
Exactly.
Like, come on, get out of here with that. That's what's wrong right now. Nobody wants to be held accountable. There's times where you're not going to get it right. They're going to make mistakes. But don't try to deflect it.
Exactly. Own up to it. You own up to it. Yeah. You get more respect from the public. Hey guys, we made a mistake here. The vehicle should have been closed. It should have been locked. Like you said, we're going to eat this or take this on the chin. We implemented new policies and procedures.
Right.
We're going to do some retraining, some more in service, so we can make this a better incident in the future.
Right.
Could have did that
easily, but no, that didn't happen. He was like, "Look at this." No, what is that got? What is that criminal's record got to do with the officer violating policy? Nothing. You explain that, Sarge? Help me out here. I don't even understand that.
Nothing at all. It has nothing to do with it because, as a matter of fact, the officer didn't have previous to any of her information. You meeting a potential suspect or a person on the street for the first time. You can't run anything. You didn't get her name. Right. So I guess they went to the school of Governor Cuomo or Mayor Cuomo to pull the stats and pull that information.
Oh, no, it wasn't Cuomo, Giuliani.
Oh, Giuliani. I'm sorry. Yeah, Giuliani to pull those stats like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, Giuliani used to be famous. That's the first thing he did with the Eric Gardner case. The first thing he did, remember Eric Gardner, Staten Island? First
Yes. Oh, yes, that's right.
yeah,
That's
he said he's been arrested over 100 times for selling illegal cigarettes. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, so what does that got to do with Officer Pantaleo violating police policy with a chokehold that is clear?
Bam.
The policy is clear. The policy says you're not allowed to provide, because prior to that policy, that was a part of a restraint. A chokehold was a part of restraint. After years of finding out, right, that it was causing seriously harm, right, seriously body harm and death at sometimes, they done away with it. They done away with it. You remember that incident? Well, you remember the movie Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing?
Yeah.
You know, remember when they choked out Big Boy in the movie?
That's right.
That was based on a real life incident that happened back then. So it was a tactic. The chokehold was actually an authorized tactic. They started realizing like, we can't use this tactic anymore. A policy came out. It was clear as day. Everybody had to sign saying, yo, yeah, I got it. I understand. We can't do the chokehold no more. Nobody was talking, and nobody within the police department was talking about this chokehold that was against policy. Everybody was talking about Eric Gardner was selling illegal cigarettes. And you know what's so crazy? I don't know if we talked about it, but you know, he wasn't even selling cigarettes at that particular moment.
Right. Exactly.
That was the most craziest thing. But Giuliani put the spin on it, and it was crazy.
Didn't they walk? Those guys walked, didn't they? The cops.
Yeah. Pantaleo finally either he got forced out because they took him off the street and had him at a desk for like years, collecting his salary, and then he finally I can't remember if he got fired or they just forced him out and he wound up leaving, trying to go to the fire department, is what I heard. It was something crazy like that. But it didn't make no sense, man.
No, not at all.
And I'm totally not for this one. And it's bad because my brother was like, come on, bro. Like, really? I was like, dude, you seen what the sheriff did? I'm more pissed on the sheriff than the actual officer. Don't do that. Don't make it look like your deputy had no accountability, no factor in the matter, right? Because if the doors was locked, that police unit wouldn't have been stolen.
Correct.
Period.
Exactly.
Once they steal that vehicle and they drive off and they wreck,
it's on you. It's on the officer. It's on you.
Right. It's right. It's definitely on you. It's definitely. Now, is that is that like a malice type of violation? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And the reason why is knowing the job, you hop out. A malice violation for me would be the Eric Gardner, Pantaleo. I'm going to apply a chokehold and keep holding it until this person pass out, knowing that I'm not even authorized to use that. Right? I have policy. I'm totally going against policy, and the result of that causes death. How many times we hear a police unit? How many times we hear a police unit getting stolen and somebody dies from them stealing? It just never happens. So you're not really thinking,
not at all.
You're not really thinking like. So I can kind of give her not a criminal negligent charge, right? She violated a policy. I think some retraining,
in service, and you make it a day in the street. You make it a day with no pay.
And
at the moment,
I'd have been cool with that. But for that sheriff to go up there and act like it's the criminal's fault,
right? That's crazy.
There's no standard or expectation for a criminal. Like, what are you talking about? You expect your highly trained professional police officers who's supposed to perform above standard are doing their damnness to meet that standard. Like, come on, don't do that. Don't do that. That's why I was like, yeah, we got to do this one.
But I'm with you, Joe. He gets an F.
Yeah.
A capital F for failure.
Yes, definitely. Well, there's your take, man. There's our take. Once again, listen, take that fight to the courtroom. Guys, when it comes down, and I got a lot of cops on here who send in comments. If you want to join us and have some take that you want to give, please put it in the DMs. And, once we validate you're official, we don't mind inviting you on and, if you want to share your view on an incident, or you have an incident you want to talk about, we don't mind doing that. You know, we come from different departments. We have different backgrounds. Not everybody has the same experience. We may disagree, but we do it on a respectful level. So if you want to join, then let me know, and we'll, you know, send me a DM, and we'll let you join. Once again, stay safe, because at the end of the day, everybody, not just the officer, everybody needs to get home to their family. And I'm gonna go, you know what? I'm gonna make one more statement, right? I was that type of cop, because you hear officers or you hear people all the time, you want to get home to the family. I would even tell the person that I'm dealing with, yo, I want to make sure we both get home. Let me see your hands, bro. Like, I don't know if you got a gun or not. My alert level is real high. You got me nervous right now. Let me see your hands slowly. I don't want, you might have a cell phone. Slow up. I don't want to be shooting you and you pulling out a cell phone. So relax. I want both of us to, I used to tell people that all the time. I want both of us to get home. I want both of us to get, I told people that all the time. And I had people go, I respect that. I respect it. Because
that automatically, Joe, escalates everything. You bring everything down.
Mhm.
I care about myself and also care about you.
Right.
And that automatically will get a person thinking like, you know what? I've never heard that before. You know, sir, I don't have anything. Look, let me put out slowly. It's a cell phone. I'll put my hands out, sir. No problem. You just escalate everything by doing that, Joe.
Yeah, because it's always been a us against them. It's always a one-sided. Oh, the officer wants the guy. Said, don't you think the people you come in contact with want to make it home too? I mean, what happened to protecting and save a life, right? We supposed to be lifesavers at first and foremost. That whole take a life, right? That's supposed to have been the last and final thing that we've had to use in our box, right? That we had to save a life to do. It just seemed like it just changed. Like, yo, take a life. Yo, shoot. You got to get home. No, we're a public service. We're here to serve the community, do the job that we are trained to do, and to make sure everybody gets home. Yes, of course, you're number one in that contact, but at the same time, that person you're dealing with, life is a high priority as well. So people need to understand that. And cops understand. Try it sometimes. You'd be surprised how much cooperation you get when you say, hey, hold on. Slow. You making me nervous. I don't know if you're gonna pull out a gun. I want to make sure I get home and you get home. I want both of us to get home. I don't want no accidental, I shot you, killed you, and you pull out a cell phone. Like, relax, chill, calm down with that. And then people start be like, wow, you know how many times I have somebody say, yo, I never heard that before, man. I appreciate that. I was like, what? It's like, yo, you care about me. Normally you hear is the officer gets home. Like, and then, like you say, you bring down the tension because people start feeling like you care about them.
Correct. And believe it or not, Joe, that's all someone needs to hear. Wait, no one never cares about me, but now the officer is saying he wants to get home safe. Let me relax and let me just go ahead and comply. You know?
Definitely. So once again, take that fight to the courtroom. It's your boy Joe and Shane saying peace. Love you. See you next time.
See you next time.